Dual flag salute here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Collings.
Here.
Councilmember Klur.
Here.
Councilmember Stackfleth. Councilmember Redmond.
Here.
Mayor Globman.
Here. Alrighty. We'll go on to agenda item number 3 here. Are there any special presentations or announcements? I don't think so. No. Okay. Awesome. In that case, we will move on to item number 4. This is the time for public comment. So any members of the public who would like to speak about any items not on the agenda already, please come forward, say your name and where you live, and say what you'd like to say.
And as a reminder to first-time commenters, I'll be tracking your 3 minutes. When the light on my desk turns yellow, you have 30 seconds remaining. When the light turns red, your time is up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria. I'm half of the Yeah Movement, and actually, we have a fun announcement to make today, besides our normal ones. I know about a month or so ago, Tessa had brought up that she'd been down to Reading and she'd been to a BNI group, and she expressed interest in maybe having a business networking thing going on here. I wanted to touch base with her, but I think it's tax season and she's mega busy, so. Anyway, short version, in my previous life before I came here, I started and ran a successful pest control business in San Diego with my ex-husband. I basically built that business from the ground up to $250,000 a year in annual revenue within a couple of years, and I did it mostly through business networking groups. So I've been in a lot of groups. I've seen what works well. I've seen what doesn't work well. And through some conversations online and some walking around town the last week, this is definitely a need in the community that business owners want local business networking to connect, share leads, share information, really just connect more with each other. So we've decided we're starting a business networking group. We're gonna just fill that need too. So we spent the weekend working on some things. I've spent most of it today building the basics of a website. It is going to follow our Ohana theme. It is Ohana Connect. I will be sharing information on links and signups, membership options, and our first event, which I think is gonna probably be next month. So I'll keep you all posted, but we're really excited, okay?
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you very much. Awesome. All right. Looks like we got another one. Come on up.
Hello, my name is Anastasia Sprout, and I am the founder of an amateur paper called the Mount Shasta Bee. I wanted to comment that I've given away almost 100 copies of these. And here's what's really interesting. I really wanted to take a moment to honor Chief Gibson because he's featured in this, and it's one thing to talk with a person and hear what they say. It's another to hand the papers out about someone and see what the people say about him. So I've gotten a lot of feedback, and I have to tell you, it's 100% positive. So congratulations to Mount Shasta. You have an excellent leader in your police force. I also want to say that I am disturbed by some things on Nextdoor in terms of bullying related to the Yeah movement. I just wanted to make that comment. I've also been blessed to be connected with someone named Sky Kincaid. Does anyone know who Sky Kincaid is? I'm so excited to talk with this person. She was an amazing reporter, and I'm really curious if there might be some ways we could work together going forward. The community is really interested in a paper, but it's way beyond my capacity to do something at the level really the community needs. So I'm going to be hitting some of you up for meetings, getting on the calendar and just talking, but it might be a little while longer before we get a second edition, just to do justice to the needs. And also I'm hearing about a couple people who are doing electronic news, so I'm wondering if that might be coordinated. One person's developing an app, another person has a news bulletin. So anyway, just working on all that. Have a lead of some people who do homeless outreach in Dunsmuir, so I'm hoping to write that into the story. And also, I'd love to see if maybe there's time to do a block grant proposal in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know, but it'd have to be beyond what I have the capacity to do by myself. So we'll see where the flow goes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Awesome. Anyone else? If you got something, come on up.
So I have come in on I have come. My name's Therese Swinson, and I have approached the council 3 times to ask to be on the agenda to discuss downtown business parking. And I have written a note for Todd today because I know my instruction was the reason I wasn't getting a date was because I needed to canvass the street, the business. So I did go down the street. I talked to everybody. I gave them a card and said, if you want to make this an agenda item, and I believe you probably did get a response.
I haven't. I just read yours, but I will say that canvassing is useful to get people out at council, but that's not the way to get something on the agenda.
So I also sent an email to Kim Fowler. She asked me to. I met with her separately. I listed my reasons.
Okay. What you need is council buy-in to actually say, yep, this is an item we want to agendize.
So I've brought it up for 3 different months, and Kim told me to come see her and she'd get it on the agenda. She asked me to send her an email, which I did. I was advised by the mayor I needed to get the involvement of the city street, which I'm concerned about, and I did do everything everybody's told me. I am going to be having a little pre-op on my knee, so I'm not going to be at the next meeting. The reason it's important to get it on in April is because it comes up for renewal, and I don't want you to sign a renewal without me being able to do a presentation. Thank you. I feel like I've tried to honor everybody's request, and I'll just wait. I just can't come next time.
Thank you. I'll just respond to that briefly. I don't think there's much appetite for getting rid of those on council as of right now from what we've seen. So, well, is that?
It's not free talk.
This isn't a time for back and forth right now. Well, is there any other public comment on any items not on the agenda?
Namaste, and aloha. Afa, yeah, movement. So it's this Saturday, 5 p.m., 5 to 7. Open to the whole community. People from Wairika and from Weed and Dunsmuir, everybody's coming over. We still have a tiny house over there, so we can take a little tour. It's about half the size, 200 square feet, so people can imagine and touch what 400 square feet might look like for them. Good food for my lady, and it's fantastic. We are actually going to add an hour. So at 4 p.m., 1 hour before, we're going to have the grant team come together. We probably have 5, 6, 7 people right now. And we've divvied out about, what, how many foundations? About 3 each, 4 each, 3, 4 each. And so there's just a quick little report back and how their phone call went, spreadsheets went, so on and so forth. We had a small little phone call today with Lake Shasta, which was pretty interesting because other people are thinking about donating land towards the movement. So that's good news. We had another phone call last week with a consultation, which is amazingly really good for the nonprofit, and we'll slowly be chipping away at that. We have a couple more expenses that we're going to talk more in detail at community dinner, but it was fantastic. So that is on Saturday. Dunsmuir is going to be pushing an Airbnb system come Wednesday, and they wanted to get a little bit of input of how we're doing it here with our cap rate and our enforcement systems and whatever we can do to help them. They seem a little bit more vulnerable. Our prices are kind of high. Their prices are kind of low. It's easier for them to get swallowed up. So that was really good. And like my lady said, we put out a little post about what comes first, chicken or the egg. Jobs come first or housing come first. And throughout Siskiyou and a small viral for the county, which isn't much, but about 60% says jobs and 40% says housing. So with the Yeah movement saying we're going to tackle alternative housing and affordable housing and income and qualified housing and support the staff and planning, we are also going to start pushing businesses to expand and thrive and get more customers and a membership system and a card system. You're going to start to see Ohana Connect as a membership card. And then customers are going to start to go to other businesses. And in theory, if we can help businesses thrive, that means they're going to get more jobs. They're going to need more waiters at pipelines. And we hope to thrive the business side and the housing side together. So thank you. Appreciate all that you guys do.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, any others? Oh, here we go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Evan Drake. I'm a local builder and a member of the Siskiyou Housing Alliance. I just wanted to briefly kind of put a bit of a footnote in the conversation about fire hardening of structures. I think it's important not just to think about how resistant a structure is to combustion, but also how it decomposes upon fire and how it combusts. The environmental effects of a burning structure are pretty enormous a lot of the time, especially with older structures and certain housing systems. There's a lot of plastic in modern housing envelopes, among other things, tar, formaldehyde, binders, a lot of things that become toxic very quickly upon combustion. I know this is probably more of a comment for our planner, who currently isn't here, but I'll say it anyway. The International Residential Code has approved several appendices in the last few years regarding natural buildings' solid wall systems. So this includes straw bales, hemp lime, other solid wall systems that are uniquely resistant to combustion, but also are fairly non-toxic upon thermal decomposition. We haven't adopted these appendices. A few jurisdictions have so far in the US. Currently, the move is to appeal to the local building the building department with the appendix, and often these projects will get approved. But it would be nice to adopt them to kind of, as a statement that, you know, we want to protect the land that we're on. We want buildings to be non-toxic, safe for both their residents in the event of a fire and for the surrounding, the environment, the community, everybody. I'll speak with Kim about this independently, but I wanted to bring it to the council's attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other public comment? Going once? Okay. We will now bring it back for council and staff comments. Do we have council members over here? How about over here? Okay. How about some staff comments? Todd, you always got something.
Sorry. So first, I mentioned before an appointment to the Revenue and Taxation Finance Committee, and there being a requirement for 2 in-person meetings. The second is at the end of March, on the 25th or 27th, just giving you guys notice. So the latest update with the landing, we had a meeting last week with Powers Group and Nunzio and Mark DeSantis Architects, the architecture group that the Powers Group likes to use out of Dallas. You guys on council met them. And so we went over the desire for us to enter a master planning process with the idea that what we do early, the first meeting, with suggested uses and massings for both parcels at the landing. We talk about the types of uses, that we'd like to see and seek community input and find out where we're on, we're on track and where we're not. Make appropriate changes, come back for another round of comment and review, and then a final presentation. Along with this, it is looking at everything from impacts on views, topo, any kind of limitations on the use of the property under the land use covenant, microclimate. We're throwing everything in here, and this is to be funded by remaining EPA brownfield grant money. I've finished up a draft RFP this morning that I'm circulating, and once we've got comments from the development team, I will then send it over to Siskiyou Economic Development as well as the EPA to get their blessing, and I'm hoping that I can get that posted by next week. And so we get this process rolling. The other piece is the Powers Group, realizes that they've got to show some forward progression. So they're trying to figure out, well, what do we do next? And they've been thinking about bringing an affordable piece to council, with a development agreement for that portion of it. The timeline for developing that affordable isn't going to align very well with closing out the Surplus Land Act. But what we would do is say, which we're trying to get a meeting with HCD, we can't meet the timelines for the development and master planning of this property, given that it takes so long for us to procure affordable housing loans and grants and tax credits, that it just, we'll do this, we'll tackle affordable as we go through that development agreement. And so it's a pretty common practice. So that's the way we're headed now, unless we receive a different direction. Switching gears, we talked about having sewer rate study underway. We don't, after checking with PACE. In water, neither. I have quotes from PACE to get that started. I will bring them to the next council meeting and we'll get them rolling. I don't know how much I want to talk about this. Of course, there is the issue going on with the fire department. We have a very valuable member who brought a lot of years of experience as a fire chief in different locales that was arrested without warning by DA investigators and charged with a couple felonies, and so he was placed on administrative leave without pay, and we're still trying to work out some of the logistics on making sure we get this right, so we're not depriving him of his rights and that we're not putting the city in jeopardy in terms of liability. We have through SCORE, Liebert, Cassidy and Whitmore, and they are going to have us a memo tomorrow that lays out all the issues, and we'll figure out what to do from there. I was involved, I spoke at the last chamber lunch last week and laid out the approach for the 250th anniversary of the nation, 101st, for the renaming of Sisson to the city of Mount Shasta, and how we brand events over the summer. Brett Waite has a daughter that is in graphic design for a wine consortium, and she was meeting with her daughter to see if we can come up with a logo. We have a wonderful human being on the DAC that produced her own logo that we circulated, and along with the plans for which events and how we lay out the marketing, where we buy billboard advertisements, and I'm just trying to see if I can close that so I can get approval on that approach at the next council meeting. We can get moving on it. And finally, the much discussed clock and thermometer will be fixed this week.
Save the clock tower.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. Melissa, anything? Okay. We got yours coming up anyway. Oh, Chief, sorry. Yeah, please.
Sorry, Keith. Just a couple things. So last council meeting, I was down in Roanoke Park. I was attending a crisis management and executive board. Some of the things highlight pointed out was case studies on what went right and what went wrong from management and staff. We covered the Camp Fire, the Orville Dam, the Bakersfield terrorist attack, and some school shootings with the actual sheriffs and chiefs there of what they learned, how to handle the press. How you have to have your emergency systems planned and trained on. So coming back from that, I pulled out our emergency and disaster response plan that the city has put together that sits in everybody's shelves. Last time it was updated was 2015. Yeah, there's people in there that are dead that are on our contact thing. So I'm in the process of revising that, bringing that up to speed with the new Zone Haven, the new Genesis, Ready Siskiyou, all that stuff. So working pretty good on that. And second of all, you see the two gentlemen in the back of the room there. We have the one with the stripes on. He's our field training officer, and he has with him our newest officer, Colin Williams. He recent graduate from College of the Siskiyous. Came down here. This is his first law enforcement job. He is currently residing in Weed, and he's doing a pretty good job. He's in his first couple of weeks here, so this is his first FTO, and but he's out. He's go getting them. So you're going to see the officers out when we have a training. They're out. They're doing a lot of activity. So if you see them around, say hi. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. And welcome. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Moving on to number 6, committee updates, either DAC, library, beautification, or active transportation.
Okay, DAC met last week, so there's a bit of stuff. I mentioned a local artist and now member of DAC, Maria Miller, she produced a lot of great comments on how to approach events this summer, and produced her own logo for the 101st, 250th. We really appreciate that. One of the things that has their juices flowing is I brought some photos of some really spectacular murals in Reading. If you've ever been down to a restaurant called Taroko down there, there is a 3-story mural done by a Dutch artist that, the artwork is incredible on it, celebrating the resiliency of the families that survived the car fire. And a couple of others, and some stuff of mural photos I took in Sacramento, and they're trying to see what we can do about really vetting solid local artists and coming up with murals that reflect what makes Mount Shasta special. And not just kind of random one-offs, and so they're working on potentially outreach on that piece. They're also we have some folks that we were talking to about the remaining Powerbox wrap art, and realizing that we might need some changes on those. So we want to expand who we reach and seek out additional artists for submission so we can make sure that what we're putting out there best reflects our community. And then finally, a previous planner did some great work on photographing wayfinding signage throughout the city. And we've got some very old signs. We've got stuff that is in different fonts, it's different sizes, in weird locations, and they have agreed to try to organize that information into an approach, when we can find the funding, where there's uniformity and there's a strategy behind where we place these wayfinding signs, because we think it's going to make it easier for folks to get where they want to go, but it also helps economic development. So those are the big things. I'm working with Danny over at the Fifth Season on planning the Biketober event, which we want to roll into the 101st and 250th. But and I discussed that a bit at the chamber luncheon, and we're trying to figure out, we have a lot of support from the chamber and trying to get the word out on that. Part of this is, well, what's the right venue to raise additional funds? Because it is going to cost some money. And, a GoFundMe page can't sit with a governmental organization. It probably can't sit with a business because the optics aren't there. So we're trying to figure out how to best roll that out. And it may be that we just seek private donations, but we've got a pretty good head start on what we would like to see happen. And anyway, that's DIAC.
Awesome. And before we move on, I would like to just make a note. We have 1 vacancy on the Planning Commission, 2 on the Beautification Committee, and 1 on the Downtown Enhancement Advisory Committee. So if anybody here in the audience or watching at home is interested in any of those, please reach out. We'd love to have you. All right, moving on to item 7, the consent agenda. The city manager recommends approval of the following consent agenda items. All resolutions and ordinances on this agenda or added hereto shall be introduced or adopted as applicable by title only, and the full reading thereof is hereby waived. A, approval of minutes, February 23rd, 2026, regular city council meeting. B, approval of disbursements, accounts payable, February 26th, 2026, and March 5th, 2026. Total gross payroll and taxes for the period ending March 5th, 2026. C, Police Department monthly report.
I move to approve consent agenda items A, B, and C by title only.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay. All right, moving on to number 8 then, the grant report review. Staff has prepared a quarterly status update of grant projects, and our finance director is going to tell us all about it.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I will tell you what I know, and I think I will probably need some help as well. But since the last quarterly report, in our transportation grants, we've closed out 3 of the grants, so that's good news. Obviously, you guys approved the plans for the Lake Street Complete Streets and the Safe Streets for All. So those are 2 projects that are done and off the books, which is nice. As well as there was a little delay on one part of the project up here on Mount Shasta Boulevard, but we've resolved that now, and so we'll be closing that grant out as well. So the main open transportation grant at this point is the Lake Street reconstruction, and you guys recently approved a contract to Kimley Horn for the PS&E on that. So they're underway and working to get that done. We also have the small award to Green Dot to look for active transportation grants. Hopefully we'll get something there. So those are the transportation grant updates, if you have any questions. And then in our water and sewer grants, a lot has been moving forward on the water distribution system project. We're probably, I'd say, at least over halfway done with that from what I can tell. But moving along, there was an amendment approved for that, which was a $2 million adjustment to work to replace Tank 2. The bids for the original project on that came in quite a bit lower than was expected. So that's good news, and I think that we'll start some planning on that probably here in the next few months. On the stormwater management improvement project, that one as well is moving along pretty good. We'll be looking at amendment on that one as well for Washington Drive to include some work there. Finally got some snow for the senior snow grant, so we were able to have a little bit of money spent there out with the contractors for the senior snow removal. Probably won't see much more since it's going to be in the 70s, but in addition to that, we have the two Housing and Community Development Block Grant applications that we're working on with Great Northern. And so they've been plugging along, getting everything they need put together, working with Rachel and Todd to get things signed and put in the right places. So we're moving along on that, and those will be submitted on March 16th. That's the deadline. So that will be good, and hopefully we'll find out some good news. And then Todd already talked about the EPA grant and what we're planning to do with the funds that we have there, about $200 and some thousand. And then we did hear back on the Parks grant from the project manager at the California Department of Parks that we will not be able to use those funds to remove the tree at the City Plaza like we had hoped. So that wasn't a huge part of the project that we were going to use for the funds for. So we're going to prioritize the next on the Chestnut parking. So Ken's been working on getting plans together for that. We've got all the documentation that we need to submit that request. And so hopefully we'll get that done in the next few weeks. That does still leave some funding available. And I know that we're brainstorming ways to spend that, so that'll probably come back to council soon. There's a community in charge grant that we received. It was a small grant, and the bids that we received for the work that was hoping to be done came in quite a bit more than that. So we're refining that, working with the grant administrator to see how we can adjust and maybe still get some work done. I think the point here that Ken and we talked about was we want to get something moving because likely in the next 4 to 5 years, some component of our fleet will need to be EV. And so it would be to our advantage if we can use grant funds to put in some stations for charging our vehicles. We hope to get there. So I don't know, Todd, if you have more information on that, but I think we're under an exclusion for a little while, but it will run out. And then the fire grants are, the wildfire mitigation grant is moving along. I haven't seen the work yet, but I think the work was supposed to start. If it hasn't, it will soon. I think they're starting at the south end of town on quite a bit of the land that we own down there. And then on the FEMA equipment grant, I think we're still going back and forth on an amendment with them to see if we're going to be able to use the additional funds that were unspent on that grant. That was a grant that bought equipment for 4 different jurisdictions within the South County here. So I don't know if there's more information you want to add. Do you have any questions?
I'm trying to think. So I guess a couple small adds. For the Tank 2 project, we got a cost estimate in, and, Ken and I had a conversation that we feel like Pace has gotten very used to us rubber stamping their proposals and cost estimates. So we actually asked them, you know, let's see what they do to sharpen their pencils and come in at a rate that we might be able to use some of that additional money for another project. So, and part of this is we want to see, you know, how responsive they are to see if we might want to go out for an RFP for a new city engineer. And of course, Pace has all our records, and they have long experience with us. But I do think that the, you know, an understanding that there may be competition, we may be getting better bids. And I just, right now, I'm concerned by some of the estimates in the proposal, like Tank 2, for instance. It came in, it did come in better than we expected. But it's a replication of a tank that they've already done. And there's a big charge in there for design. I mean, to me, it seems you've got it, you know. And there's a tendency to put a lot of, you know, different levels of technicians and engineers on these projects. And you kind of wonder, especially when we're looking at the wastewater treatment plant, and the fact that we paid them a lot of money for oversight on the construction, and they haven't stood by some of the failures. And we've had conversations with them and pressed them hard, and there have been eventually sheepishly promises that they'll help, but we've ended up doing a lot of the fixes ourselves because there was some foot dragging. Anyway, they do great work. They've got great people down there, but I think it would be good if they knew that they're not the only game in town. That's what I'd add.
On that note, are they? Are there other alternatives that we can go to? I know they're relatively local, so.
Yeah, they're large. I mean, we do. And even if we had to pull from Chico, and even if it ultimately, you know, we've got some firms that we've been using lately that are just, I mean, their stuff is right on. Their bids are competitive. Even though they've got to travel longer distances, they still come in at a competitive rate. Kimley Horn, particularly, is strong. And, you know, Precision Engineering on the PS&E for, you know, for the reconstruction of Lake Street. I mean, we just asked them to pull out a miracle for us because we were realizing we're up against a spending deadline, and they're going to get us plans for just the base roadway reconstruction in 2.5 months. I mean, so that level of accommodation, I know Pace can do it, but I don't think that anybody up here, because Pace has been in, you know, has been the city engineer for so many places, so many cities up here, that they've kind of gotten used to the work will always be there. So we're thinking about our strategy next.
Awesome. Any questions over here? Please.
Is there a reason that the stormwater management improvement project is the only one that has some staff time attributed to the reimbursement?
Sorry, actually, there's some on the transportation grants as well. So that's something new that we started doing about a year ago, actually, to sort of try to track the expenses that we were incurring for the grant that, you know, others are getting reimbursed for the most part. So I did include some of that. Has mostly been on the Lake Street reconstruction. And then we had quite a bit on the Lake Street's complete streets. On the Water distribution system, I think mostly that's just been PACE has been managing that, so I think there hasn't really been a significant amount of staff time there.
And is that like admin staff time or public works?
It's basically
Anybody involved. I will say that,
Todd and Ken and myself, for the most part, yeah.
and, and Ken, depending on the project, I will say that the normal practice since I got here has been, well, keep track of your hours on your grant, and it just felt like a lot of times you'd get down to, reporting on your time card, and it was then, I didn't keep accurate records, and it was a lot of guessing. Melissa has managed to put together a timesheet that lists all the grants that are out there, and besides the number of basic hours to fill out a time card, it lists day by day the number of hours that you spent as match. And so it forces you to track this, and it's been extremely helpful.
Thank you.
Chair?
Over here. Yeah, please.
So looking at the Caltrans STIP Lake Street Reconstruction Grant, $2.1 million. Looks like there's going to be plenty cash available to do some construction after the planning.
I will say that
because the project is thought to be $3 to $4 million, right?
well, the staff, so that STIP award, remember, it's from, is it 2019? I mean, we keep pushing it out. We've had our last extension that we can possibly ask for.
June 30th of next year. Is that when you have to spend this?
Yeah, and so, of course, costs have exponentially increased. What the company is doing now, since now they're looking only to have drawings for just the roadway right-of-way, just so we can get some money spent and say those drawings are done, which is what we need to access our funds before they disappear, that $2 million. But we're to be able to do what we originally scoped for that project, it's gonna cost considerably more in gas tax funds.
Well, the project, from what I recall, is $3 to $4 million range, right? For all Lake Street?
But the State Transportation Improvement Program, I think they awarded us, I don't have the number offhand, I think it was like 2.1 million.
Yeah, it's 2.1 million.
Yeah.
So, but that's not going to complete the project.
Yes.
So what I'm worried about is that you can't start the project unless you know you can finance it. In other words, you can't tear up the roads and do some work. You have to have enough funds to do the whole project because you need the sidewalks and the roadway all finished. What are we going to do? Do we have a plan to
Yes.
get another extension maybe while we wait for more grants to do the whole project?
So right now, the plan is to use gas tax money.
Yeah.
And, if there are grants out there that will allow us to supplement, we'll chase them. But it looks like it's, part of this reconstruction is a significant part of it's going to be on gas tax.
Okay, well, I guess my suggestion would be get the planning done and then do a segment of the road with the remainder of the $2.1 million.
Yes.
You may, so that we don't lose the remainder of the $2.1 million. So in other words, go from Everett Memorial, from Rockfellow Light to, I don't know, Alder Street or something like that.
We're looking at Mount Shasta up past Rockfellow.
Mount Shasta Boulevard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this the one that they talked about where they can do the paving and that part of the reconstruction with the idea that the active transportation stuff will come in later, but is being, they're doing all of the reconstruction with that stuff in mind so that it won't inhibit our ability to do that later? Is that the part that will come in?
And we spoke specifically to Caltrans that we would stripe the lanes the way we want them. They're not the 16-foot wide lanes, but the 11 or 12-foot lanes. And up the center, the curb cuts where we need it, and the rest is a blank slate, but nothing is a throwaway. It's just something that we can come in after the fact when we have the money and then just add these. It isn't like a massive, like, we tear everything out we just did and put this stuff in. But, it's too bad these don't align perfectly, but if we're 3 years behind, but we get it done.
Through the chair again?
Yeah, please.
So with respect to the Prop 68 grant, trans-agency, can you ask to help the rec district with some projects? For instance, well, this one is actually city land, so the ballparks, the ball fields over on Lake Street by Rockfellow. Apparently, there's new fencing needed, according to rec district director. So she suggested that maybe that would be a good project for the Prop 68 monies if you're brainstorming for projects. And that's
Shannon and I spoke.
Did you already know about that one?
We need council approval on it, but I said that makes.
How about the roadway into Rockfellow, into Shasta's Park? Did she mention that one? It's gravel now, it used to be pavement.
Let's see what we've got left after we've got, the holdup right now is Ken needs one more quote on constructing, Chestnut Street lots, and then we can.
But do you think that'll be approved, since it's not? I'm a little worried if the tree removal was not, and that's kind of park-like. Well, why wasn't that approved?
I mean, we do have a park that's planned there in the
why wasn't it approved? Do you know? Did they tell you why that expenditure was not approved?
You mean with the
tree?
Oh, because it really, the way it was framed is that was part of originally part of a reconsolidation and circulation plan to create a park-like atmosphere at the city hall. Now that we've removed this, it's just a hazard mitigation issue. And so they're like, we're not going to fund that. It has nothing to do with parks.
Okay.
With the Chestnut parking, we've got fully, there's a full design plans.
Okay, so you can construe it as part of a greenway / park design. Okay.
And we're talking with a new group in whether it's far-fetched or not. If they think they can get us money, that we seek money for the entire stretch of the greenway as partially a way to mitigate any additional mud flows if there's a catastrophic mud flow into the area. Even if there's a tenuous argument, they believe they can argue for money for the entire greenway. And so it's not like this is dead. We're chasing real money. We have real plans. Who knows what state parks is going to do, but this is, I think this is something we can make a really compelling case for.
Okay, but you are talking with Shannon about possibilities. Okay, thanks.
Councilman Redmond, got anything? No? Over here? Cool. All right, we'll open this up to public comment on any of these grants. Don't all jump at once. All right, bringing it back for council discussion. I think we got that. I don't think this requires a vote.
I'll just move to accept the report from the Finance Director regarding grant status.
All those in favor of receiving the report? Aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay, moving on to number 9, contract award, the library expansion cost estimation. Nolan Tam Architects, who originated the designs for the library expansion, have offered to lead the cost estimating process using Sierra West. Todd, I believe you spoke about this at the last one, if you want to.
Yeah. This one? Sorry, this has been a saga all the way through. And I'm hoping that the saga comes to an end. We had the Library Tax Advisory Committee said, okay, we want you to go out and get an estimate from integrated project delivery firms that say, that will give us a quote for how much it will cost to take the 100% design drawing plans and tell us what it will cost them to see them come to fruition. The problem is integrated project delivery, as we found out after we talked to a lot of concerns up here, is that IPD is only done on really large projects in like Sacramento and in San Francisco. So we don't have people down here. So Ken and I, we spoke to a couple of construction project firms down here, and they said, you know what, you put this out right now, you're going to get quotes all over the place that are unrelated to reality. And the only way you're going to understand what this is going to cost you is if you hire somebody that does cost estimating, and that they can put this together. They go through the plan set and they tell you, and the estimate is likely to come in high because that's how they work, and just so you're not surprised. And we talked to an estimator, it was Trover Construction and Estimating, and they said that we can do this for you. It would be about $12,000, but if you want to get a real level of detail, I'm trying to find the name of the firm, you need to approach a company like Sierra West, who will get down and give you, the price per each item, and if you call them, my guess is their proposal will cost about $14,500. So as I'm chewing this over, out of the blue, Nolan Tam calls me. They want to know what kind of progress we've made, and it's like, well, explain what's going on. I said, I want to see this project get off the ground. Why don't I put a proposal together for a nominal fee, since we know what items that we want to use out at the library and how we want to do this. We'll oversee a cost estimating firm, and they came back with a proposal with the firm that was suggested, Sierra West. And the original proposal was for $12,500. I asked them to sharpen their pencil. We wanted to get it down to $8,000. They actually came back. They got it to $8,000 with this company that's supposed to be $14,000 or more on their own with Nolan Tam, and we can process this as an addendum to their already existing agreement with us. And it seems, on the face like this is a no-brainer. We've got the best estimator around. We've got the architect that came up with the designs for the renovation and expansion. They will, just like the library wants, they'll cut it into two phases. One is a renovation, one is the expansion of the building, and Sierra West will use local prices, and they do this on a regular basis. So, and one of the things that they came back with, not this group at Trover, is, we were talking about, well, what do we think the library is going to cost? And this is just, who knows? But Ken had said, hey, can we do this for $3 million? And they said, no, maybe $4 million. But that's, let's see what they come back with. I mean, that sounds like something we can bite off. So that's why I'm bringing it. We finally, at the end of this saga, I can get this addendum processed. We can get them on the way. We'll know what it's going to cost, and we can figure out what we can do, what we can't.
We'll bring it back for questions. Question over here, please.
City Manager, this may be for you, but also Councilmember Stackleth, about if we find out if this gets approved and we have some more detailed cost estimations that some over the two stages of renovation versus expansion, it's, my kind of first question is, if it comes total, both phases, closer to 4 million, are the funds that are in place and are estimated to continue coming in with a 0.25% sales tax funding vehicle, can you afford a $4 million total? And I don't know if that's to...
Yep.
It depends on,
They've run it.
depends on, we haven't finalized the library numbers for 2025, right? They're not final yet? Close?
Yeah, we have about 1.3 million.
1.3 million in reserve, so that'd be like we can't use all of it, but say $1 million down payment. And then
And they,
it runs
Yeah.
a surplus per year, about 150,000.
Oh.
What, only 80? That would be
I'm sorry, I don't
problematic.
have those numbers in front of me, but we
I
did
remember
go over them before. Is it
148.
okay?
Very close. Yeah, and it may not be good enough. Yeah. Because you have the surplus that the tax generates versus the realistic expenses has to be 20% greater than the payment on the loan that you get for it to be, the loan to be approved. We've been through this before with, I guess, just off the top of my head with the sewage treatment plant and the interceptor line, same type of thing. Oh, and also the solar panel project. Yeah, so it has to be room to get approvals. So yeah, the big question mark. So that's why we have to find out how much it's going to cost first.
So if I can, playing the scenario out a little bit further, what I've heard from everybody is the cost estimate is going to give you sticker shock when it comes back, and it's designed to be that way. What that does then is sets up, if it's undoable, it sets up a decision point, whether we want to move forward with, one faction in the library expansion wants it to see the renovation of the interior of the library, HVAC, and circulation done, while another faction says, well, we need to do something more flashy, so we need to work on the expansion and add HVAC. Here's what happens. We've got a cost estimate that's hard and fast. I mean, if we've got an idea which way we want to go, the cost estimate's in hand, we know it's going to be high. We have now a not to exceed amount where we go out seeking qualified construction firms to do this work, and whatever approach we want to take, we throw out there, this is what we would like to do as a first phase, but we'd also like a quote on what it would cost to do the entire thing with a not to exceed amount based on that cost estimate, and then we come back and see what we can do and then what we can't, because from the firms that do this, have said that when we've got certified cost estimates, we're often able to bid considerably under what that cost estimate that's handed to us. So we're at least we're going to have hard numbers for not a lot of money, for $8,000.
Questions? Okay. We will now open it up for public comment. All right. Okay, bring it back for discussion. Yeah, please.
Seems to me that this is kind of a no-brainer. I don't mean to offend anybody if they're against this, but the project was described as having two phases. but I know John and many other people have been involved in this so long that they see maybe we can do both phases, but we're going to have to move parts and pieces of those two phases around relative to meeting whatever more detailed and better cost estimates come into view. And it just seems to me it's a critical piece of a bunch of information to help them make better decisions as this large $3 to $4 million project goes forward.
You know, and frankly, having this cost estimate, it feels that we've had so many stops and starts, and the folks that are involved with this have been extremely patient. I think a number of folks have worries that they're going to be picking out their tombstone before any decision is ever made. And so I want to give something that says, this is a hard number, this is what we think we can do, and this is what we can't do. And what we can do, let's get rolling on it.
That seems fair.
We all good? All right, so I'm going to end debate with a motion to approve a contract. I'm going to move to approve a contract amendment with Knoll and Tam Architects to oversee professional cost estimating for the Mount Shasta Library renovation and expansion project at a cost not to exceed $8,000.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay. Excellent. Moving on to number 10, council reports on attendance at appointed or outside meetings.
All right, through the chair.
Please.
So Collier Interpretive and Information Center, our meeting a couple weeks ago showed that we have a cash balance of all of $2,500, maybe $2,700. Obviously, not a good situation. Nancy Ogren, who's a county supervisor and represents the county at this board, is moving along with educators, important educators, whose names escape me at this point, but she seems very confident about turning the facility into a place that school trips will occur. But to me, it sounded like the costs of running that program will be washed out by revenues. Sort of, you collect some fees from the classes, kind of like what we do at the ice rink. We have a school group come and they pay a pretty discounted price to go ice skating, but there are costs involved, and I'm not sure it's going to help improve the fiscal situation for the center. Something much grander will probably have to happen. Along those lines, did the president, a fellow named Rennie, call about giving a presentation on the 23rd here? He would like to give a presentation at the, agenda item number 2. So if we could pencil him in for his 15 minutes on the 23rd. Is there anybody else scheduled?
With any of the details yet, but
Can I just schedule him now, then?
if we've got details on it, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably going to make a pitch to
Yeah, let's do it.
increase the donation we make from $1,000 to something higher, because that's what he's doing throughout the county.
Might I?
Yeah.
So as part of the budget planning process, I was hoping to have our community partners come all at once. And I think we have that potentially wanting to be scheduled for the end of April. And I was going to send out an invite for that. So would it be okay to try to do that at the same time?
I think he has penciled in to give a presentation about the importance of Collier. I'm not 100% sure he's going to ask for more money, but he'll probably go to that one too.
Okay, so you want to hear him
Yeah.
twice? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You all have to bear with him.
Smart method.
Yeah. Any other? I guess I have a couple. I had my second Coffee with the Mayor event. It was well attended, and we had a robust discussion. some things came out of that, still moving forward with those. The next one will be on the 24th, and it'll be a morning one. Stay tuned for the location, but it'll be more appropriately themed for the morning for drinking coffee. And then before that, on March 19th, the Sisson Museum at noon is going to have the opening ceremony for their new exhibit. It's going to be a new 3-year exhibit. It's Shasta Stories, celebrating kind of the founding of the town and how everything came to be, some of the original pioneer families. Looks really cool. So that'll be at noon at the museum. There will be food and drinks provided. Everybody is invited for that. It'll be great.
What was the date again?
Oh, sorry. Thursday, March 19th at noon. Let's see. I think that's it. Anybody else got anything? No? No? All right. Moving on to item number 12.
All right, Todd. Summit View in, let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah. What's your extension? 7523.